ongoing breaking news in the investigation of the terrorist bombing outside a concert in Britain. Our senior international correspondent Clarissa Ward is in Manchester for us. Clarissa, it now appears, the suspected bomber recently traveled to Syria. What's the latest?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, Wolf. CNN is hearing from a U.S. official that they believe that the bomber spent some time in Syria training with ISIS in the months before he launched this horrific attack. But this is a little bit at odds with what we're hearing from Turkish officials who tell CNN that the bomber did indeed pass through Istanbul airport, but that he never actually left the airport. He never entered the country. And of course, the primary way to get into ISIS-held Syria is through Turkey. So we're hearing a little bit of discrepancy on whether or not he actually went into Syria. But U.S. officials say he did and that he spent time there training with ISIS. Meanwhile, here on the ground, Wolf, raids have continued on various places. One house in particular in the town of Wigan had a cordon around it for most of the day. Police reportedly finding suspicious materials in that house. They have now arrested 8 people in conjunction with this attack as they go about the business of trying to find out who helped him build that bomb, because according to experts that CNN has spoken to, the bomb was above rudimentary level sophistication. It doesn't appear possible that the bomber, from what we know about him and his education level, would have the kind of know-how or expertise to build this kind of a weapon. Meanwhile, another angle that everyone is focusing on is the Libya connection. As you may already know, the father of the bomber and the brother of the bomber have both now been arrested by a Libyan militia in the capital of Tripoli. All of these leads being explored by authorities here and around the globe as they try to drill down on whether this is a larger ISIS terror cell, whether there is more of a presence of a network here in the United Kingdom, so that they can ensure this does not happen again. Wolf.
And it all explains why the British government is now on the highest state of alert, fearing another terrorist strike could be imminent. Clarissa Ward in Manchester, thank you.
Tell us about the injuries that they likely suffered, given that we don't yet know exactly about what sort of bomb this was.
Yep. Well, and we're talking about the physical injuries here. Obviously, there's all sorts of injuries psychologically as well. But, you know, when it comes to what medical professionals are sort of looking for when they hear about an incident like this, which typically was on battlefields, you hardly ever heard about this in civilian settings, but they will look for these patterns of injury that sort of focus on 3 waves. The first wave after an explosion is sort of this concussive blast, which people said they heard and they felt. As you know, Aaron, inside the stadium, that can cause a blast lung, for example. The second wave of injury usually comes from shrapnel, and anything can be shrapnel in a situation like this, glass, for example, that's flying. And then the third wave, which is typically bodies into bodies. And again, these are horrific injuries. The first responders are typically thinking of trying to take care of patients based on these waves of injury.
You talk about the not wanting to compromise the investigation. A lot of information has come out from America rather than from the British police or security services. Is that something that you will be looking at, that the information sharing that may be working against what the police want known public?
Yes, quite frankly. I mean, the British police have been very clear that they want to control the flow of information in order to protect operational integrity, the element of surprise. So it is irritating if it gets released from other sources, and I have been very clear with our friends that should not happen again.
And